purpose business. That is the topic of today. How can we engage our businesses and add that social impact aspect to it? We are here with Cathy Dimarchos talking about exactly that. Cathy, for those who are watching, I know the question: what is the first action to take if I have a for-profit business and I want to add this level of social impact? What is the first thing that I should be doing today?
Well, I think the first thing is actually really having a distilled, clarity around what is it that you're going to actually do. What is it that you stand for? For me, at the end of it is enabling people to be self-reliant, and then actually understanding what that means, and every level, what that means for people in remote areas, what that means for our future generation, what that means in how I will specifically actually bridge the gap, on the ground, within my own community. All of those things need to be really clear. And I tell you why. I have people actually reach out to me that don't know me, but actually understand the reason why I do what I do, as in the business. Say to me, how can I work with you? And that means they are not actually wanting to work with me to be paid. They actually want to work with me to contribute. Now, this is the future. So we actually talked about earlier, sometimes people are prepared to take a pay cut to actually work for a company that genuinely is doing something for good. So I have people say to me, how can I work for you for free? I want to understand. I want to be part of that bigger picture. I want to know that I'm contributing. So when people know what you stand for, when people can see that you are genuinely doing what you say that you're doing, they want to be part of it. That creates an enormous ripple effect.
Absolutely. And, let's talk a little bit about that. The ripple effect is huge. The global impact is huge. The one life that we change touches so many others. But let's talk about leadership, but beyond the bottom line, because as we take these initiatives, as we bring this social impact in, we can't look at the traditional metrics. The traditional metrics are all financial, in bottom line focused. But if we're now going to lead a company that has that social impact, we have to have metrics along with that. So what does this look like for us as entrepreneurs and as executives? How do we lead a business that creates real change?
When people are actually working in any environment and they're enjoying it, their productivity actually level increases. And there's a lot of statistics around that, right? That within itself then allows us to understand that we can actually allow the time that we anticipated would take, to do a particular thing, to paying it forward. When you are doing something with your hands, grassroots, that actual impact multiplies exponentially. I was actually just recently running a project in Tanzania. I run leadership programs, in fact, for youth that actually embeds social impact, that actually embeds entrepreneurship, in amongst negotiating and all these other things. But the one thing that I said to them was, the time that I have spent with you, what I want you to commit to is actually doing that for 10 other people. What you have actually learned has been enormous. I have seen you shift. I have seen who you have become. Will you give me that undertaking that you will do that for at least 10 other people? And these youth, honestly, they got up and actually spoke to, their other peers. That was another 400 students that turned up. And all of them actually spoke with such confidence. And yet they were, these kids had actually come from impoverished communities. So that's what ultimately happens. Our voice becomes our commitment, becomes our action. That's what happens in business.
And how, as leaders, do we have metrics for that? We have teams that want to be a part of this. We have teams that are getting on board with this, but do we set our metrics for the impact and trust that the bottom line will follow? How do we balance what we've learned traditionally in business with how we're shifting to this for-purpose concept?
I think you're right in respect to it has always actually been the metrics on numbers. Well, I'm going to say that numbers actually come as a result, but that aside, it is actually about your retention of staff. Think about how many more people stay, because they are more engaged, because they feel that they're actually contributing. So you're actually reducing your training, and retraining of people because you're having to re-employ people because they're
Mm-hmm.
not actually sticking. So all of those things are not usually measured. It always comes down to just the net profit. But when we actually bring all of that back into alignment to have a look, why is it that people are actually now staying within the business, but not just staying and being, you know, um, non-engaging and non-productive, because that can happen too, but they are actually maintaining their level of engagement, and we're actually still seeing the numbers grow, then there's a lot to be said about that. Um, you have people turning up to work because they want to work, not because they have to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fantastic shift. And so now talk to me about the other side, because when we shift how we are approaching things and we shift to maybe a for purpose business, and we have other employees or other team members that maybe have a little bit of resistance to this, how do you navigate the challenges of that resistance? What does that look like?
Um, it won't often be because we're actually, focused on paying it forward. The resistance isn't because of that. Usually it's because they don't perhaps feel how they know that they can contribute. It might also be because they don't feel that they belong.
Hmm.
So taking the time to actually talk that through is usually going to enable them to find their place. I am a big believer that as human beings, we're actually about belonging to something that's bigger than us. And we don't often find what that is in life because we're stuck on that treadmill of the chase. I'm chasing to actually survive. But when we find the small things that bring us joy, that then is how we can align ourselves to how do we actually bring that joy into a bigger purpose and actually bring other people on the journey with us. Um, I think it's the conversation piece. It's actually looking within.
That's fantastic. So, talk to me about one mindset shift every entrepreneur, every person watching this can make today to move from this. If they're maybe in survival or they're paycheck to paycheck day, or they're in that space, move from just making money to making a difference. What is that mindset shift?
I think all of us at some stage have been affected by something. So if we actually look at that within itself and say, what do I want to contribute to because I don't want somebody else to experience the same thing, that becomes the focal point of how you then become involved in being a contributor and paying things forward. So you then find like-minded people. That then all of a sudden brings you into a new network, a new sense of belonging that shifts how you can just have a conversation with people. That actual shift in dialogue in, how I can actually contribute to something that has affected me, perhaps, to make it different for somebody else, takes away that thought of I need to survive and actually play that chase game of paycheck to paycheck.
That's fantastic. Cathy, your journey is proof that business success and impact go hand in hand. How can people learn more about your work and how to implement some of the principles that we've talked about today into their own businesses?
My website, solutions2u.com.au, or through social media under my personal name or under the business name.
And I'm going to
Mm.
ask you, because we're running towards the end of our segment, but what is the one thing, based off of everything we've talked about for the past 30 minutes, what is the one thing that you would encourage, the action you would encourage people watching to take today?
Be comfortable in actually sharing what you're thinking you want to do. The second you actually put it out into the universe, it becomes your reality and you end up with a smile on your face like I do every single day.
It's fantastic. It has been such a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you.
Oh, thanks, Jen. It's been a real joy.
And you, if you're here watching, I hope that you've got some amazing gems from Cathy, because when we give, it just opens the door for us to receive in greater ways. As entrepreneurs, we are uniquely positioned to solve very big problems. It's what we do. It's why we're entrepreneurs. It's why we invest with purpose. So take the opportunity today to put something into action and to really take heed what Cathy has shared. Reach out to her. We will be right back after these messages.